me that you love me, even if it's fake.
Again, guys, for joining me, and we are making noodles, and we're going to make them a couple of different iterations of crispy noodles. Okay, so if you're familiar with restaurant style crispy noodles, you know there are a number of different versions. We're going to essentially do two versions today, and one of them is using vermicelli. Vermicelli, I think most people would be familiar with this. I've got a couple of different brands here. This one was courtesy of Chang's. Okay, vermicelli rice noodles. Okay, they come in cakes like this. Okay, in fact I might use this. Whereas these ones from Chinese grocery stores, these are the more, I guess, more familiar to Asians like me, but they come in longer strips, so I think these cakes might be actually more practical to use. So let's use the Chang's cakey vermicelli. Now, the way we're going to do this is, okay, the other type of noodles we're going to have a go at, I want to show you what we call wonton noodles, right? This is what it looks like. And I keep trying to tell, because a lot of people are actually contacting me privately just to verify they've got the right type of noodles. So if you're using these type of noodles, don't soak them, okay? Because that would be a bad thing. But wonton noodles, how are they different? Okay, so you notice here it says on the label, it says fresh egg noodles, right? But fresh egg noodles mean lots of different things. I mean, Hokkien noodles are fresh egg noodles, right? And of these thin fresh egg noodles, there are a couple of different varieties. And in fact, even restaurants in Sydney, I find, use the wrong type of fresh egg noodles for the wrong type of dishes. I'm not going to name and shame them, but the fact of the matter is, these ones here, the way they're different visually is that they look a little bit floury, if you can see it, okay? So they're different to the Hailam, the Mi Hailam, the Hainanese noodles that we would have used 2 cook-alongs ago. Those ones are more akin to Hokkien noodles, which are actually dense and also oil covered, okay? This is floury, okay? And with these noodles, there are 3 different, well, let's say broadly 2 different ways to use them. If you just boil them and dish them out, they'll be very soft and silky. And that's why we call them wonton noodles, because the soft and silky variety is what we use in wontons, okay? Now, if however we don't boil them, we can fry them and they turn into crispy noodles, okay? And I'll show you in a bit. Now, crispy Chinese crispy noodles, Vietnamese restaurants will use this type of noodles to make crispy noodles with. You go to a Hong Kong, like Cantonese restaurant, they actually have a different type, but we're not doing that today, okay? But let's get started. So, assuming you've got your hot water or your boiling water ready, we are using vermicelli, okay? Let's put them here. And these, if you fry them straight, they turn into, you know, I don't know if you're, there's no water. If you fry these straight, they puff up like rice puffs, except noodly. All right, but we're not frying them straight. We're actually softening them with water first, okay? Now, I just noticed, and that's the other thing you're going to find as well, different types of like the same variety of noodles from different brands, right, will be a little bit different. This looks thinner than the ones that I use from the other pack, if you know what I mean. Let me just, I need tongs. Don't have tongs, should have grabbed tongs, okay. But let's let this soak for a little bit. Okay, and then we're gonna strain it out, okay? So if you don't have a strainer or a colander, have that ready. But let's soak this, and we're gonna heat up, we're going to, okay, I don't know what proteins you're using. This is what I will be using, so let me show you. Okay, so the other ingredients we want, oyster sauce. I hope you guys all have oyster sauce. If you don't have oyster sauce, you know those soybean, like the preserved soybeans will work as well, okay? But I said oyster sauce, so we're going with oyster sauce. We want some garlic, all right? These are my peeled garlic. We want some greens, okay? I'm using choy sum, right? They look a little bit manky because I bought them last week. And I'm gonna throw in some prawns. Again, like I said, we're keeping like the whole lockdown theme thing. So I just basically went into my fridge and had a little bit of a scrounge around for leftover bits of protein. I found some chicken. This is cooked chicken, okay? So we're gonna use this too. And in my freezer, I've got some fish balls and I've got some frozen scallops, which I defrosted, okay? So these fish balls we're gonna slice up into slices, And so that's a lot of protein, right? But I like a lot of like trimmings in my food. I don't like when you go to those Chinese restaurants where they charge you $10 for a big giant plate of noodles with only one prawn and one fish cake sort of stuff. I want it the other way around, you know? So I tend to go overboard. As far as the sauce is concerned, we're actually doing two different variations of the same dish, okay? So if you've got eggs and you're not egg averse, you might want to consider adding eggs to yours. So that's one version we're going to do, and the other version will be egg free. Okay, we want some starch, and I've got some tapioca starch. You can use cornstarch. So what we'll do, we'll start, let's put some oil in here. You don't need a whole lot of oil. I know some of you are a little bit like reticent about doing any kind of like serious frying, okay? But you'll be fine. But I did mention, because someone posted a video of someone doing some deep frying, and they were doing some deep frying in this, okay? Don't do that, guys, okay? You want something that's got some depth in it. You want to do any kind of frying, because I get really worried when people try and fry stuff with a lot of oil in a thin, shallow frying pan, okay? So this one is what, about 4 inches deep, okay? And we're only gonna add about 1 inch of oil to this. Okay, so let's do this. Oh, Portugal, Maggie. Okay, so we've got some oil here. This looks suspiciously yellow. I've got a feeling, no, maybe it's okay. I don't know. It might actually have been that oil that I used to fry the turmeric chicken from Ayam Masak Merah last week. Not sure, but let's see how we go. Okay, so we got some oil ready. Oh, it's really only about 1/2 inch of oil, really, okay? So the noodles, if you are using the vermicelli and they're soaking in hot water, they will soften. Okay, here you go. You're not looking to cook it all the way. You could if you want, but you just really want to soften it. Okay, so let's strain it out now. Okay, so this is strained out. I'm gonna let it sit for a bit. Cutting board here. Okay, protein, chicken. Okay, so like I said, lockdown cooking. This is not fancy. I posted some photos with freshwater prawns and with frog. And someone asking, were they frog legs? No, they're full-on frogs. We don't just eat the legs. We Asians we eat all parts of the animal. All right. But those are kind of premium trimmings, obviously. But again, lockdown, we're using leftover food. So this is chicken, diced chicken, and we're going to actually just toss a little bit of pepper. And if you want some salt, okay, and of course, I generally would famously add chicken powder in lieu of salt, okay? But you can use just salt, okay? So a little bit of that, and put a little bit of the tapioca starch, cornstarch in it, okay? Just toss it through, because what we're going to do, we're actually going to first fry up the noodles, and then we're gonna actually throw these into the oil and just briefly fry them up as well, all right? And again, if my audio goes, oh wow, Facebook is transcribing my speech and getting half my words wrong. Okay, so we've got these fish balls. We're gonna slice them up. Did I do my knife? Okay. Okay, so don't forget, share this out, guys, so that more people can get a hold of this content. And I'm going to go through who did the sharing, and I'm going to pick a winner, all right? And of course, I'd love to see your food photos as well. Look, I'm just going to throw this here. I'm not fussy. I've got some prawns. These are cooked prawns. Typically, you won't use cooked prawns. You use raw prawns, okay? And I just have to use these up because they're getting a little bit dead. All right, so let's throw in a couple of cooked prawns. So everything in here is actually cooked stuff. But of course, ideally you want raw, really. Okay, and if you're using raw chicken or whatever, cut them into thin strips, thin slices. Okay, you can use red meat if you want. Okay, but do the same regardless of what you're using. You want to toss a little bit of pepper through them, some cornstarch, and some salt or chicken powder in my case, okay? So I've got that, and I've got these scallops as well. So again, a little bit of flour. Oh, there's a lot of water in here. Okay, it doesn't matter. A little flour, chicken powder. Okay. Again, look, if you're averse to MSG and whatever, just ignore that. Just put like salt in it, okay? Don't judge me. So, pepper. And let's throw this in here, why not? And let's turn this on and turn on the stove. Okay. And we've got the greens. Now, if you're doing large amounts of this, I would suggest, you know, if you were cooking this for like a big party or something like that, you'll want to separately have like a pot of water to boil the greens in, okay? Because too much greens in your sauce simmering away can contaminate the flavor of the sauce and turn it like all kind of like tasting a little bit, you know, if you know what I mean. These look really bad. Okay. Okay, so some greens here, and like I said, these are choy sum. You could use baby bok choy, you can use whatever you want really, but yeah, if you're doing large amounts of this, just blanch them in like a separate pot of boiling water, but only blanch them for seconds, okay? And you might even just want to parboil them sort of thing, so they don't need to be cooked all the way through. It's just sometimes, especially if you're doing like large amounts of stuff like that. Okay, let's turn this on. You run the risk of actually, you know, ruining the flavor of the sauce because there's too much happening in there. All right, garlic, forgot about it. Okay, so you want some garlic. Let's bring this back over here. Ray, how you doing from San Francisco? Let's have a look. Who else have a nice said hello to? How's San Francisco? I've never been there. All right, so here we go. Garlic, all right. Ideally fresh garlic. Okay. And you just want to mince it up. And if you've got some stock, right, you don't want it seasoned, okay? Actually, it's quite funny. I was invited to do a cooking series in Singapore for this online TV portal, and I did, and they got all the ingredients for me, but like the ingredients were all sponsored, and that's the danger of actually collaborating. That's the danger of working with people you don't know, because they got a Singaporean supermarket chain to sponsor the event, and they supplied all these stock in cans, but the stock were actually salty, and I'm not used to using every time you hear me talk about stock, guys, I mean stock as in stock that's just like bone stock that's had no seasoning added to it, all right? But so I used that stock, and it was salty, and I was adding salt and chicken powder to it. And at the end of that episode, I had to for the entire series, I had to actually the closing shot was me eating the food sort of thing, and I just about died because it was so incredibly salty, and I had to pretend that it was really nice. Okay, so this is the vermicelli, okay? Like I said, you want to strain it out. Just a little bit of water here. Left, just make sure best you can strain it out. If you were to fry this on its own, like I said, it will turn into, maybe I'll just do a little bit of an example from this batch here. If you were to fry this without soaking it, it will be different to this here, okay? If you fry it without soaking it, this is akin to those, you know, if you go to those suburban Chinese restaurants, you know, that have, I don't know, sweet and sour pork or whatever sitting on a bed of these fluffy, crispy things. That's what these are, okay? That's vermicelli unsoaked, deep fried. But for this, we're actually more commonly, if you're eating vermicelli, crispy vermicelli, you would actually soak it and then fry it into cakes, okay? So that's the more common way we would serve crispy vermicelli. But this, if you're frying wonton noodles, especially like I said in Vietnamese Chinese restaurants here in Australia, this is what they would use, okay? Floury egg noodles. Okay, so we've got that ready, we've got that going. So all your protein is like tossed in a bit of salt and pepper and cornstarch or tapioca starch, which is what I use. Right, let me just put a little bit more here. Okay. And if you want, you can actually like throw in an egg white. Some recipes will call for like a bit of egg white to help kind of like make it a little bit more silky. All right, we're not going to bother because we're only doing such small amounts here. But yeah, message me if my audio goes wonky, because my last 3 broadcasts I've had audio problems at various stages. Some of them, like last week's, I don't know if anyone noticed. For those of you who know me in real life or watch my other videos or whatever, last week's broadcast had me sounding like I was like a couple of octaves deeper than my usual voice, and nobody said anything until after the broadcast, you know. In fact, one of you told me I sounded fine. You liar. Okay, so stock. Okay, this is my stock. Okay, this is actually concentrate, chicken concentrate. Okay, I know it doesn't look the best, but it's fresh. What it is actually from my food business, which is in hiatus at the moment because of the lockdown. But what I do is I sous vide cook these chicken breast pieces, which is what these actually are, in bags, and in the slow cooking process, chicken juice is produced, and this is what it is. So this is actually intense, like very, very strong flavored chicken stock concentrate, essentially is what it is, but it's unseasoned, all right? But okay, let me just hey Michelle, how you doing from Central Queensland? Lynn, how you doing? Shotwan, how are you? Rachel, yay, good to see you. Annette, hi. Kathy, hey. Mala, hey, good to see you. But yeah, guys, like I said, this time we're doing it a little bit different. We're going to pick one winner. I mean, I'll have some giveaways, some you know, for those who participate. Three people participate. 2 of them by posting photos, and one of you, especially for those of you who are not in a position to be able to cook along, I'm offering you the opportunity to be nominated for a prize, a small prize, by sharing this out. Okay, because I want to reach a larger audience. Okay, so like I said, this oil looks suspiciously yellow, so you're gonna have to cut me a little bit of slack because I think I grabbed the oil that was used to fry the chicken from last week's recipe. Okay, so this is heating up. What we want to do, let me show you first. Okay, so you want to get this to about 180 degrees. I don't measure anything. Okay, we Asians, we fry stuff by just testing it in the oil, and it's not ready yet. When it like froths up and pops up, you know it's ready, okay, but it's not. And like I said, like I know by having run a food business, because I used to sell these curry puffs, spiral curry puffs, deep fried, and a lot of my customers like them so much they want to actually buy them uncooked and do it themselves at home, but they always insist on throwing it in the oven because they freak out. The mention of deep frying freaks out a lot of Australians, I noticed. I'm told though, my Dutch friends tell me that every Dutch household actually owns a deep fryer. That really impresses me because apparently the Dutch are actually big fans of chicken schnitzel or Vienna schnitzel, whatever, some sort of schnitzel. So apparently they all have a deep fryer at home. So that's not a problem with the Dutch. But with Aussies, if you don't have a deep fryer, I don't have one either, okay? It's not a big deal. We do our frying in woks or in like deep pans like this. This is the case here. Okay, so we're gonna wait for this to heat up. Like I said, I got method. Yeah, oyster sauce. Okay, we also got some soy sauce. I don't know if I have that on the ingredients list, but everyone should have soy sauce at home. All right. Now, I have to admit, in all honesty, you know, since coming to Australia, like growing up in my part of Malaysia, which is down south, we never came across fish sauce, right? Well, I never came across fish sauce in our cooking and all that. The people up north did. Penangites use fish sauce. We use a lot of soy sauce. So for the heck of it, we're going to use soy sauce today. But since coming to Australia and living among the Vietnamese, because I came to Australia around the same time, there was an influx of refugees from Indochina, and I grew up, well, not grew up, I was already a grown-up. I lived in that part of Sydney when I first came to Australia. So I like a lot of Vietnamese ingredients, and one of them that I've really taken to is fish sauce, okay? So you'll find in a lot of my recipes that I actually skip using soy sauce nowadays in favor of fish sauce, but like I said, just to be a little bit faithful to the original, today we're going to use soy sauce. All right, and oyster sauce, okay, this is what we're using. And for whatever reason, the last time I used it, I found this quite sweet. And I've mentioned this in my previous broadcast that different brands of oyster sauce and different iterations, some of them are more premium in that they will have more oysters in them, right? Some of them are sweet, okay? So if they're sweet, don't add any sugar to your sauce that you're making. I'm not going to add any to mine. If you think yours might be quite sharp and savory, add a pinch of sugar. You don't want it to be outright sweet, okay? So that's the oyster sauce. Here you go. I use fish sauce too, being a Teochew. Oh, is that right? I know very little about Teochew cooking. Okay, let's see how this is going. Let's throw in another little bit here. Okay, it's a little bit more happening. Okay, I know you can see it. Okay, there you go. I need tongs. Let me go and grab it. Okay, it still needs a little bit of time, but if you know what I mean, okay, since we're not, I'm just frying up the vermicelli, dry vermicelli, just to show you how it looks, okay? Okay, if, like I said, I'm talking to the Aussies here. If you go to, if you eat at suburban Asian restaurants, right, even Chinese restaurants, I guess, in Chinatown, this is the stuff that they put, like, to kind of like add bulk and like, you know, for display purposes to some of your Chinese dishes. Even like Peking duck, sometimes they put it on a bit of this fried vermicelli. All right, so this fried vermicelli, you see how it crisps up, okay? It's what it's for. But I don't know if you, your experience the same, but it's very rare that you would actually fry it this way for what we're making today, okay? More typically, like I said, you would actually soak the vermicelli first and then fry it up in batches, okay? So we're going to do that, right? It's scary, okay? Don't agitate it too much, okay? Just let it fry it, and we want to brown it, okay? Now I want to show you the egg noodles, the fresh egg noodles that are drenched in flour. You want enough oil that you don't have to actually kind of have to turn it around, right? And of course, you typically wouldn't fry all of this at once, okay? I'm just wanting to kind of like quickly show you guys. Now, when you fry anything, like when you're frying these egg noodles, when do you know when to take it out? You know when the oil starts, when the bubbling starts to dissipate, okay? Like I say, and that's part of the reason why you want like some level of depth in whatever it is you're using for your deep frying, because otherwise the oil is gonna bubble up and it just gets really super dangerous in your kitchen, okay? But as long as you've got enough depth, in your pan, you're going to be totally fine, okay? So the idea is you want to fry this till it's crispy, and you don't want to leave it in there too long because it will continue to crisp up. It's not going to feel completely crisp when you take it out, but when it cools down, it will crisp up, okay? So these vermicelli, you're going to fry it for longer because you want to actually brown them a little bit, scorch them a little bit, okay? Because this one is good to come out. Let me just get some paper towel. So if you're using red meat, like what I just did with the whole marinating thing, usually red meat takes a little bit more time for the flavors to soak through, okay? So you may want to consider marinating them longer. But if you're just using seafood like I am here, just for the amount of time it takes you to do the noodles will be fine, okay? So you see these lumps here, okay? And we're gonna cook more egg noodles. Kind of like crock pot with no flavor. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Marla was talking about, the vermicelli tastes like crock pot, which is prawn crackers, but without the prawn flavor, basically. And the Thais actually would fry this up and then toss it in like a sweet kind of one of those Thai dishes, so they kind of coat it in this fairly treacly sauce. And it's quite interesting, but yeah, we wouldn't usually do it for what we're making today, okay? And like I say, if you want a copy of the recipe, please comment recipe, please. If you're watching this anywhere else, guys, I would appreciate it if you comment recipe, please, underneath underneath the original video, okay? Because if it's shared out several layers, maybe it's shared to a private group or something like that I don't have access to. If you comment recipe, please, I won't be able to see it. So it's better if you click through wherever you're watching, click through to the original video where it's streaming and comment in the comments there, or even better, comment in the event that this thing would be in. It just reminds me, maybe it's not even showing up in here. Facebook is really weird in terms of helping people find my live videos. It doesn't always kind of make sense. But let me just quickly check if it's actually showing up in the event. Audra, hey, I missed the beginning. What did you do to the egg noodles? Nothing. Did you just say no? I just fried it dry. Andrew, recipe, please. How are you doing? Okay. I wish I had a little bit more oil for the egg noodles because, like I said, I don't like having to flip it, okay? Typically you would fry it in a wok, so this wouldn't be a problem because that's why we do a lot of our deep frying in woks, guys. So even a flat bottom wok, because the sides go up, you can put you don't need quite a lot of oil for it to actually give it some depth, which is what you need a lot of time when you're doing deep frying, all right? But insofar as these vermicelli noodles, you don't actually need quite this much oil. I basically put more oil in because I knew I was frying these egg noodles as well. But these, for those of you who are really leery about deep frying, right? Because these noodles are actually already cooked from the hot water, you can actually pan fry it with half the amount of oil to what I'm using now. And so you're saying, yeah, now you tell us. Sorry guys, I just thought of it just then. Okay, so let's just fry this. You see, for as long as it's bubbling, it means it's still trying to pull out the moisture out of the noodles. So you wait for the bubbling to dissipate, but not completely die out, okay? If you wait until there's absolutely no more bubbling, then your noodles are gonna be like crusty, okay? You don't want it crusty. Okay, let's take this out, okay? And I'm going to actually fry one more lot of the vermicelli because those two cakes that look quite like enough for me to do what I want to show you guys. So like I said, these type of noodles, this, you know, funnily enough, it hasn't really puffed up the way it sometimes does. But typically, the puffier noodles are what you get at Vietnamese restaurants in Australia when you ask for crispy noodles, you know, as opposed to in Chinese restaurants in Chinatown. I hope somebody actually knows what I'm talking about because I pay attention to these things. Okay. Like this. So with the vermicelli, you want to turn them into cakes, all right? Because the cakes are gonna break up when they're soaked in the sauce. But the cakes are meant to be pseudo soft. They're not meant to be like totally 100% crispy like these ones here, okay? Hey Sammy, how are you? Long time. Hey Eric, right after my stream. But since when did you start streaming? Alright, so let's keep that going. So we've got, remember, we've got the greens here. Got the greens. Got the garlic. Right. Got the protein. And then more protein here. Speaking of protein. Let's throw in the scallops. You can actually skip this step with the proteins. It's just, you can actually just simmer the protein in the sauce, but that means that they'll just be like boiled protein as opposed to fried protein. But either way works, it's really up to you, okay? Yeah, actually, what do you do with, I missed a question from Andrew. What do you do with the used oil? I know I can't pour it down the drain. You use it again. Hey, come on. You use it again until it's really bad. When it's no longer good enough to use again. I pour it into bottles and I throw out the bottles. Okay, see the oil is not quite hot enough because I threw in so much crap, alright? So ideally you want the oil at about 180 degrees, 200 degrees Celsius, okay? But right now it's almost like just kind of like a bit limp. What's everyone doing this weekend anyway? Oil fried scallops, squids. Geraldine, how are you? Say hello everyone, let me know where you're watching from. I know where Eric's watching from. I know where Sammy's watching from. I know where Andrew's watching from. And Michelle, I know where Michelle was. Raw chicken, do I fry? Yes, if you can. Ideally. I mean, you can just boil it in the sauce later on, but I think frying, what you want to do is actually toss the chicken with some pepper and salt and cornstarch, right? And then just flash fry it. But you want the oil hotter than what it is here, because you want to just kind of like just scorch it a bit, you know. And you're going to find, if you use scallops like I do, scallops take a little bit longer to cook because they're thick, all right? But you want to make sure you don't overcook it. So you're cooking Chinese food, we are very, very particular about like not overcooking our everything really, but seafood in particular, okay? So these are the egg noodles, right? And these are the vermicelli cakes. And like I said, the vermicelli cakes are meant to be chewy, okay? They're not meant to be like light and crispy. They're crusty, like we were saying it, like what Sammy was saying. Hey Lynette, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? From California. Hey, how are you? How are you guys holding up over in America, by the way? Okay, let's take out the protein. I hear about the meat shortages over in America. Are you guys getting like hit with that, or is it only in certain parts of the country? Okay, so again, the protein, just to for those who joined us late, I've got some bits of cooked chicken in there, because remember, lockdown cooking, we're using leftovers. I've got some fish balls, which I always have on standby in my freezer. I have some prawns that I wanted to use up. I didn't throw them in because they don't really need it. And we are cooking 2 different types of noodles, and we're going to make 2 different types of sauce. They're virtually identical, but one's with egg and one's without, all right? So what you want to do, let me just get a plate. Okay, let's take this out. Straighten it a bit. Move this out of the way. We're going to make the sauce now, alright? Heat up the pan a bit. So we've got these, and whatever protein you're using, right? Let's heat up some oil in here. You just want a little bit. Just heat up the oil, and then we're going to add the garlic. And this is like the easiest part here, okay? Asian shops sell thick fried noodles. Oh yeah, no, they're called yimin. They're yimin. But those noodles, you want to actually, you can use the same recipe, but those noodles, you actually, they're not going to be served crispy because they're too chewy and too big. You want to actually soak them in the sauce. They'll soak up all the sauce, and they'll be soft and kind of like, they're really nice. I like them. Noah loves them. Alright, so we've got the garlic. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to switch this over here so it's easy for you guys to see what's going on. And I think some of you might have used yimin in the Mi Hai Lam 2 cook-alongs ago, actually. So there are all these little like ways to pass all these different types of noodles. They are not the same, they're different. None of them is gonna like taste bad per se, but just for the sake of being consistent with what we are actually trying to achieve, I just have to tell you what noodles you're meant to get, okay? But obviously, like I said, if that's not doable, hey, look, use spaghetti if you want to, you know what I mean? Like I said, it's not gonna taste bad per se. So we're just kind of trying to sizzle this a little bit. The pan, these pans take a while to come up to temp. Noah loves them, they're gonna be good. Oh yeah. Mr. Fusspot. I'm really stunned that Facebook is actually transcribing my speech. So I better speak more clearly. Because of my speech, my accent, and also the kind of stuff I talk about, which I think like are not within the the vocab range of Facebook and YouTube's AI, they always mistranslate me. Alright, so garlic. You can look, there's no particular set order for this to go in apart from the garlic and oil. You do want the garlic and oil in first, okay? Oyster sauce. You do want to actually sizzle the garlic until it's aromatic and slightly browned, okay? Don't burn it though. Some of my chicken stock, my concentrate, chicken stock concentrate, water. And if you didn't pre-fry your protein, you can throw them in here. You want, yeah, put a little bit of chicken powder if you want. Okay, but generally, look, oyster sauce on its own is fine. You don't have oyster sauce, but you do have chicken powder, that too will be okay. All right. So back in my restaurant days, we used to sell kway teow siram or wat dan ho. And you know, sometimes we put oyster sauce in it, sometimes we didn't, okay? So some recipes call for it, some don't, okay? And depending on my mood, I might leave it out altogether, okay? And if you want a darker sauce, you can put some of that thick cooking caramel that I talked about in 2 broadcasts ago, all right? And by the way, guys, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're missing my broadcast, or you want to make sure you don't miss all my future live videos, that's the link there. Jackie M Street Food Kitchen is my new Facebook group I just started up last week. You want to type in bit.ly/MSFA Malaysian Street. Yeah, don't worry what it stands for. That's actually Paul's fault. bit.ly/MSFA-group. It's case sensitive, all right? So MSFA has to be capitalized and group has to be lowercase. That will take you to my free Facebook group, my Malaysian Street Food Kitchen, and just ask to join. And that's where I put all my live cooking videos, and there's other content there as well, all around Malaysian Singaporean street food. All right, literally just started it a week ago. So join that. If you want a structured coaching program with me, that's only like a small subscription fee in a separate Facebook group, which is my Malaysian Street Food Academy. And for that, you get a, I'm talking too much, yeah. Okay, let's throw in the greens, okay? For that, you get a 9-module Malaysian street food, Malaysian cooking essentials course. You get an entire library of Asian ingredients where I'll go on camera and talk about these ingredients. Where do you find it? What do you use it for? What happens if you don't have it? You know, all those sort of questions that you may have been struggling with when it comes to Asian cooking. All right, so we've got those, and what we're going to do, put a dash of soy sauce if you want. Okay, and we're gonna thicken it up, all right? So you want your starch, corn starch or tapioca starch. So the structured coaching program is via my Malaysian Street Food Academy. The free group is my Malaysian Street Food Kitchen, okay? So the structured coaching, once a month, I also hop on camera and do a full-on masterclass with you, okay? Something that's more substantial than just, okay, this is how you make this, okay? But it's excellent value because we are only literally just starting out, okay? It's worth 3 times what it costs at the moment, and we've actually got a Mother's Day special right now that's only gonna last until this weekend. Okay, so I mixed some of that tapioca starch, and I think I need more, with a little bit of cold water. Don't use hot water because it will turn into starch before you can mix it through properly. So we've got a Mother's Day special where you get an extra month for free in that program. So if you've got a mother or if you want to buy yourself a present for this Mother's Day, even if you're not a mom, go for your life. I would love to have you. It's only a small group at the moment of 30 odd people. So you get like my undivided attention, okay? You get access to me directly. Okay, see how it thickens up quickly, right? Just taste it. It needs a little bit more salt. You can throw in some salt if you want. You throw in some pepper, salt, pepper, whatever. And like I say, I really noticed the sweetness. I did not put any sugar in here, but I can tell that it's a little bit sweet. Okay, but if your oyster sauce is quite savory, then and you feel inclined to put a pinch of sugar in it, do it. Okay, so that's all it is. Okay, so this is one batch of your sauce. Pour it over. And the sauce is going to soak through the noodles and start to soften it, okay? And that's it. It's not the best presented, but trust me, it works, okay? So let's do the second batch. Again, let's get a plate for these noodles. Okay. And you can throw the protein in the sauce if you want. Okay, let's throw it. We've got a bit of oil. Let's throw in the garlic. Just crank it up a bit. Sizzle the garlic. If you've got Chinese wine and you feel like a splash of wine, do it too, okay? So it is pretty resilient, pretty flexible. Jackie's new group. Yay, thanks John. Don't forget to share this out around, guys, because whoever shares this out the most is going to get, I'm going to get in touch with you and send you out something. I ask for your address, I'll send you out something small from my little collection of stuff in my kitchen. So again, you want to actually just scorch this a bit, don't burn it, right? Okay, we're gonna change the order a little bit and put in the chicken stock. If you don't have chicken stock, just water is fine, guys. Okay. You only use it if you happen to have some chicken stock sitting around that you want to use up, like as in my case, okay? Oyster sauce. Put a little bit more water in here. Oh, you tried it already, it turned out. Phew. Alright. Again, a bit of salt, a bit of chicken powder if you like, whatever works for you. Greens. And like I said, if you are using a lot of greens or you're using something that's going to take a while to cook up, I would suggest personally have a separate pot of hot water to boil the greens in, okay? Because if you boil this for too long, everything is going to taste like vegetable, okay? You don't want the sauce to be contaminated with other flavors that should not be there. And what you want to do, I just threw all the greens in there at the same time, but I just noticed the stems are quite thick, and typically I would suggest that you actually throw in the stems first, wait a couple of seconds, then throw in the leaves, because the leaves cook a lot faster than the stems, okay? So what you can also do, throw the protein in here, okay? So we're going to do that. Okay, so let's thicken the sauce again, tapioca starch or cornstarch. Just tasting the flavors, okay? Okay, so obviously the more you use, the thicker your sauce will be, okay? Throw this in, stir it around, thicken it up, right? This time we're going to turn off the heat, remember? And after you turn off the heat, okay? Turn off the heat, crack a raw egg in it, alright? And then stir it through one direction. Okay, that's your runny egg yolk sauce, runny egg sauce, okay? So we're gonna do that. Let's take out some of the noodles. Pour it over here. Okay, so that's the eggy alternative to the sauce, alright? So it's exactly the same recipe, once with egg, once without, okay? And the mistake most people make is that they cook the eggs, okay? You want the heat from the sauce to cook the eggs. That's how you get it runny, alright? Does that make sense? Okay? So when you go to a Chinese restaurant, you think, oh, this looks really hard to make. It's not actually, it's just glorified oyster sauce and water and garlic, alright? With some tweaking with the flavors, whether you put fish sauce or whether you put soy sauce or whether you put some chicken powder or you put a little bit of salt, you put a little bit of sugar if you want, but primarily you want oyster sauce and garlic, okay? Does that make sense? How did you go? Let me know. I'd love to see your photos, okay? And if you're watching a replay, just do hashtag replay. If you want a recipe, just comment, say recipe please, but please do it within the video itself, not in shares that are 5 layers deep, because I may not have access to whatever it is you're watching this from. But get in touch, let me know how it turned out, and please share this out so that I can get more people to tune in and have a little bit of fun on Friday afternoon my time. If we get enough people to tune in, then I can do more I can do play around with my schedule as well to accommodate those of you who are watching from other parts of the world. And also, like I said, don't forget bit.ly/MSFA capitals -group lowercase. That's my free Facebook group, Jackie M Street Food Kitchen. And if you're looking for something you buy for your mom for Mother's Day or for yourself for Mother's Day, I got that special deal going up until this weekend where you get 6 months access to my paid community, where you get personal coaching from me, where you get a full-on Malaysian cooking essentials course. There's 9 modules. There will be over 55 videos in that course, albeit it will be dripped out like 2 videos a week. And also you get me in that group. I do a live weekly Q&A in that group, answering all your Malaysian, Singaporean cooking questions. And then once a month, I hop on and actually do a full-on cooking masterclass, all right? So you're learning from someone who's actually owned a Malaysian food business in Sydney, Australia for nearly 30 years now, okay? Thanks again, guys, for sticking around, for watching this. Really appreciate your enthusiasm. I love seeing the photos that you guys have been sending through. I keep meaning to post them on my blog, but just haven't really had time to stop for a breather. Yeah, great. Kathy, recipe please, Lynette. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you next Friday, same time, all right? Ciao.